Hello, dudes and dudettes! My name is Karate Master, and in this video, I'll tell you that melee sucks, and why I think that's the case. First off, I have you know that I have at least 1,000 hours in Terraria, so you know that somewhat understand what I'm talking about here. I'm a guy that has played the game for a long time, who has tried out every class to see what they're all about, and let me tell you that melee isn't as good as you'd think it would be. Well, I'm considering all these arguments as if you were on an expert playthrough and was deciding on what class to play. But if you think you got any reasons as to why you think melee isn't bad, tell me in the comments or something because I rarely get any comments. Well, for starters, there's range. In Terraria, enemies will make sure to punish you if you are in close quarters with them, especially bosses, who can do great amounts of contact damage or can hit you much more easily. Now, every other class apart from melee, currently being a thrower, mage, and ranger, can easily deal with any enemy, no matter what the situation. Well, except thrower, because he's going to last until hard mode and he just stays there. And also, next update, he's just going to be replaced with ranger, and that kind of sucks. But so be it. So, because they have, well, a distance that they can keep between themselves and the enemy. But, well, what about melee, huh? What about it? Well, melee has various types of weapons, these being true melee swords. Well, I'm just gonna call them TMSs, like an acronym for it to be faster to say. Like, they're called that because, well, at least in like the Discord server for Terraria, like they're called that because they don't fire any projectiles and do what any other, well, regular video game sword would be expected to do, right? And these ones have, well, I'd say like these ones have the most mediocre uses that you could have. These being just pushing enemies out of your face and nothing else. And even then, in the expert game mode, there's this addition to regular zombies in which they can use their arms as weapons. And it counters these types of weapon entirely early on. Because like, you get at most what? Like, you get like copper, you get like short swords. They don't do anything. Broadswords, they don't do anything because they just have too much range. What are you gonna do about that, right? You're going to resort to range, not melee, right? Well, second weapon is projectile melee swords. I'm gonna call them PMSs, so it doesn't take too long with them. Like, these hardly can be considered as used for close quarters, as their number one use is not actually being used for melee, but for the projectiles it fires, which serves as a weak imitation of ranged or magic damage, because like you have to charge it up every time to use it, and even so, like it's so bad. Like, the only way this like two types of swords can be useful is when you get them at huge sizes and they're so big. And wow, look at that, I have a big sword, so impressive. They're not impressive. It's barely anything to do anything with. Third weapon type is yo-yos, which can be considered one of the best melee weapons, arguably. But it's also due to the fact that it's not necessarily close quarters, because like similar to PMSs, it has a pretty significant distance when you use it with the accessories like the string, that just increases its range like twofold. That means twice, I think. And yeah, just use that to poke enemies with. Next up is spears. Spears. Let me tell you, they are a joke. Seriously, they are so bad. You barely ever use them. Really. Like, what are the options you have early on, right? You get like what? Swordfish, trident. You don't get those early on. You don't go to the ocean to fish or get them from crates underwater. You don't do that because it's just not worthwhile. Not worth your time. You're better off going underground for finding better things to use, like Hermes boots. Let's see, clouds in the bottles. Blizzards, anything else is better than that thing called spears. So like the most you use them for is like brushing enemies away, like you're using a broom to wash some dust off the floor, and that's it. And well, like, next up, other than spears, there's like boomerangs. Like boomerangs, they are a cheap replacement for TMSs, starting from the wooden boomerang that you can get early on from chests found in the surface. But their damage is really nothing to wreck home about. Like their most use is found in the knockback that you can use to push close enemies away. But you can probably still get overwhelmed from both positions because it's only one at a time early on, and only hard mode do you ever get things like the discs that you get after killing the boss, the destroyer, and you don't have it then. No. Like, also, like their range, because even with their higher range, they are not great, because once you miss, you have to wait for it to come back. It'll take like a long time. It'll be like phew, 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 and by then you're dead, right? I don't even know if you can switch weapons while using them, right? It's similar to like using the harpoon, because like the harpoon also has the same problem, that if you miss with it, it's gone. You cannot switch weapons while it's gone. It's really awkward to use when the enemy can fly or anything, really. It's only when you're like close, maybe like using it on the harpoon on the skeleton hands, maybe, but that's another thing. Another weapon, flails. Flails, they're really awkward to use, because like the way that it works is that you throw it and then you like move back and forth with your character going like this, like right, like you're brain dead, and then you just go and it swings around. And the problem with that is that you don't get rewarded a lot from doing that, because the distance covered isn't much. So instead what you do is just you throw it and then like stop holding the mouse so it returns to you directly to your back again, to your hand. You throw it again, returns, throw it again, returns, throw it again, returns, over and over again in this vicious cycle of flailing, because that's just how it is. And they like you get, for example, a Sun Fury for like the wall of flesh. It's a wall made out of flesh. Nasty boy. I like it. It doesn't cover any distance. It's a boss that deals a lot of damage to you, in, for example, an expert. So like, you should not be that close to them to just tap them. You're like,
I use my flail.
Right? It's barely anything that you're doing by using that. And then there's also like another type of weapon that, well, types of weapons. It's just yeetable stuff, pretty much. These are just like weapons that you throw and they do things. They just do things, I guess. They're not like classified on the official wiki, like the official Terraria wiki, other than being other. But I mean, they're alright. They're like, you get things like I guess like the vampire knives, which are good, I guess. But you have to farm a whole lot for them. And you have to like build a whole farming system just in order to get them, if you want to get them soon. If not, you either have to farm for hours on end, probably, just trying to get this one item, or you just get lucky. Sure. Moving on. Now we discussed about like the characteristics of like the distance that the weapons cover, is damage. Like now you'd think that you would be greatly rewarded for risking your life and still deciding to fight bosses mano a mano, right? Well, wrong. You deal the same damage as anyone else, but with a harder time to hit, right? Because you only get close quarters and it doesn't get much damage. Really? Have you seen like the stats of those weapons? They basically can do the same. Barely any difference whatsoever, really. Like the damage isn't even impressive, right? Not impressive at all. So like you're doing the same damage, and it's even less impressive because you cannot do as much DPS as others, because you cannot hit them as consistently, because you have to be at close range. And if you want to hit them consistently at close range, then you're taking more damage because you're close range. You see the problem here? Like there's a damage you take in return, right? Despite all of your fancy warding accessories and high defense armors, the only difference to anyone else is that you die slightly slower than others.
That's it, really?
I mean, I guess that if you want to be basically a punching bag for the boss, so like your allies can, or your friends can respawn. But like if you don't have any friends to play Terraria with, like me, then you're still going to be waiting for that health potion cooldown to come back, same as anyone, because you're still going to take more damage. And you're taking more damage even with the defense at it, and it doesn't make much of a difference that way, right? The only times you see that difference is like in late game, when you do a whole setup, a fancy whole setup, in which you like Beetle Man, and look at me, I get these fancy scarabs that float around me, and I reduce damage. Really? You... Really? Come on, that's so... Ugh. Yeah. Is that really what you want to be doing? Do you feel like you're having a lot of fun while you're just being taken apart, smacked around repeatedly because you're just hunk of meat that's going around the place, being smacked repeatedly, right?
But Ron,
I hear you say,
the good thing about being melee is that you don't have to manage ammo or mana potions.
and well, to that I say,
Stop being lazy!
huh? Ever think about that? Right? It's not too hard to just place a few stacks of ammunition in your inventory, or to craft the infinite ammo versions for ammo, even if you can be bothered to craft some good ammo. It's worthwhile to spend in distance rather than melee, because like Terraria isn't a game about melee. Because like the bosses, they don't reflect that as the way to go. The only thing you would think when you fight bosses is,
Oh no, I have to get away from them. I don't want them to take my lunch money. No, no, get away from me. No, no, leave me alone. No.
you don't think, oh yes, I am going to charge straight at the boss that is charging at me. That will go so swell, so fine and dandy. I'll be so fine. I'll be alright by doing that.
Of course not! Of course not!
Now you're trying farming
Queen Bee?
in expert mode as a melee class? It's not fun. Even with the highest armor you can get by then, you'll still probably die. Right? That's just an example. Like in Terraria, is where you're going to be constantly moving around in fights to make sure you avoid being tagged by a bunch of monsters that want some of your money, items, or life. That's depending on the mode of difficulty you're playing, you know, softcore, medium core, hardcore. You're not going to allow yourself to be killed more easily because you think that you just, yes, I have a lot of defense, yeah, I will be fine. No. Early on, defense makes like little to no difference, because you're not really having insane amounts. And even in hard mode, it's like, well, look at me, guys. I am taking 20 damage per hit. Ho ho ho. Ha ha ha.
I am such a good player, man. I am so good because I don't have to dodge. I just have to throw myself mindlessly at the boss and just think that everything will work out.
And that follows like, well, to the next point, like movement. Like, there's like one accessory that actually allows you to charge at the enemy directly. Because what you got mounts. Mounts are not accessories. Like you have like the unicorn, which is like a blitz, like a one charge, like an ambush. You charge them, and that's it. You go once, right? But like those, they aren't like for continual fighting. They don't do much of that. No. Like trying to hit an enemy while you're on a mount. You look so pathetic, right? Do you not see yourself while you're on a mount was smacking your sword, using your sword like that? Because like in the game, you just look like this. Yes. Aha. Yes. I am killing the boss. Yes. I am such a good player. I am so proud of myself. You see? It sucks. It's hard to see how much fun you can get while doing that, right? Like, well, and like even so, like the accessories, like being the Shield of Cthulhu, even then, it's more used as a dash away from bosses. You use movement to get away from bosses and enemies and anyone. You don't go straight to them because you'll die. Okay? That's simple. That's very simple. But Melee doesn't get that. Melee players don't get that. They just go and they die. That's what they do. And then they question themselves, why did they die?
I had so much defense, I should not have died.
Right. Like, you're only lying to yourself when you're trying to explain that being the case. Don't try to kid anyone with that. And like when playing Melee, you only have like 2 options. You have only like 2 options of like play styles for bosses. I mean, because bosses are basically the main way to progress for the game. Even with normal enemies. Like if the enemy doesn't take like 2 hits to die, you're going to take eternity swinging your sword again and again and again and again. Just like that. Again and again and again and again. Repeatedly swinging swords, throwing boomerangs, using yo-yos, all of that. Like, it's really not impressive, not fun. Maybe fun. Maybe fun if you think that you're like looking like a not so smart person. It's fun. Like you either like against bosses, you do as anyone else. You go with a yo-yo. Like yo-yo is the most reliable weapon to fight bosses with, and you simply go and run away from bosses while you smack them with your yo-yo, because you're not going to use anything else really. Yeah, maybe projectile swords, so you can do pathetic amounts of damage, maybe. Or you just throw yourself at the boss and you die. That's all there is to it. The design of Melee is it feels very flawed, or at least the design of the TMSs, because like it isn't anything more than just a different damage type, but not a different playstyle that is worth the effort. And I feel like I'm done talking about Melee for a while. So once again, go ahead and complain to me in the comments if you actually believe that Melee is redeemable as a class in any other way that I haven't talked about. So, calculator.